If it rains, that's when you know it's true. Unashamed too, I don't know. If it rains, that's when you know it's true. Unashamed too, I don't know. If it rains, if it rains, if it rains. Blessings, what's going on, everybody? If you don't know, I'm gonna let you know. I'm unashamed, unashamed, unashamed. And we are back with another video. Welcome guys to my very first video talking about Gotham Knights on PS5. And it's been a while since I ever really talked about a Batman game here on the channel. But I think it's a nice refresher to talk about this just because I didn't have the capabilities in order to talk about it before. But now here I am able to give you live gameplay footage to talk more about the game itself. Now, I'm gonna be honest, when I first got this game, I really wasn't expecting to like the game so much. And this is exactly why you don't get online and just listen to anybody tell you what you should believe about games. Because when I first got this game, I honestly thought that this game was gonna be trash. I thought the game was gonna be surprisingly low res in terms of resolution. I thought that the game wasn't going to run well, and I also thought the game was not going to be fun because I've played similar games like this, like Marvel's Avengers and stuff like that, and I just saw how horribly the game delivered when it comes to those games, and I was expecting the same thing to come from Gotham Knights, especially when you take into account that this game was being developed by WB Montreal. And these guys are, I guess, responsible for the Arkham Origin title that we ended up getting. I never played Arkham Origin because I just thought it looked dumb in my opinion. And I thought it was a downgrade to what we were used to in the Arkham series. And I was expecting the game to kind of resemble Arkham Origins. But honestly, this game is surprisingly good. And for those people who were kind of on the fence about this, I honestly would ask you to give this game a try. I mean, if you have a PlayStation 5 or a PC, you really should give this game a try and just see what you think about it, because it is definitely worth the try. And honestly, they were saying something about the devs being very wool over your eye when it comes to the whole 30 frames thing. And honestly, I can barely tell that it's 30 frames. It honestly runs just as good as anything I've ever seen. So for you computer whizzes out there, it really doesn't matter if it's 60 frames or not. What matters to me is whether or not the game is fun and whether or not the game actually runs the way it's supposed to run. Because the entire internet and YouTube was basically like trashing on this game, saying, oh, it's gonna be a dumpster fire at launch and all this kind of stuff, saying, oh, it's 30 frames, and they were complaining about the whole telling us at literally like 3 days before the game actually came out. And it was just a big drama fest on YouTube about the game being a disappointment and all that kind of stuff. It's because people pretty much equate greatness to graphical fidelity and frame rate, as if that is what causes games to be GOAT tiered, and that's just not the case. I've played games since the PS1, and I've played games that have terrible graphics. I played games that had good graphics. I've even played games that kind of are buggy. But what makes a game utterly trash is not based on its frame rate or whether or not it's PS5 optimized, but rather if the game actually is fun. And when I played this game, and I'm still playing it right now, dude, the game is absolutely packed with content. For you to get to sink your teeth in, and I feel like I never ever feel like there's not anything to do. There's always something to do when you're playing, and then on top of that, I have 3 other characters that I can go and explore their movesets and their upgrade systems and their armor and all kind of stuff. So there's so much stuff that's packed into this game. And then on top of that, that you add on to the fact that they have multiplayer. So if I want to play with my friends, I could play with them and bring the game to life even more, because I'm pretty sure that they're going to eventually add more DLC or other stuff to the game, because I feel like that's the kind of direction they want to take this. But you know, we'll just have to wait and see. Now we're going to go ahead and just discuss two particular things before the video is over with. First, I want to discuss each particular character and my personal opinion about each character and how they felt, because each character has an in-depth system that I think needs attention. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about Nightwing a little bit, because Nightwing, I only played with him a little bit just to kind of get a feel for how he plays, and to, you know, just to go off, you know, on a whim here, I honestly think Nightwing is for people that really like to play a more acrobatic type of fighting style. You can definitely get behind Nightwing because he feels more like airy and fast and swift, and you have tons of agility. Now, of course, I don't have him upgraded or anything like that because I haven't played with him that much. But honestly, from what I've played so far, I've really enjoyed Nightwing. And my the next playthroughs that I do have of this game, I will give him a try, because right now I don't feel like I have a full, like, I don't have too much to say about him because I haven't played much of him yet. So once I, you know, feel like I've played with him enough, then I'll come back and talk more about him in depth. Now I'm gonna be honest, I went into this game 100% expecting Red Hood to be someone I wasn't even going to give a try. Like, I was not even going to care about Red Hood. I'm like, who wants to play with the guy with the gun? Like, what is this, Call of Duty? Like, what are we doing here? But you know, I gave him a try, and from what I've played of him so far, he's interesting because he's slower, and you do have a bit of an advantage long range because you do have that shotgun. So you won't have to deal with too many issues with people that have assault rifles, because that is a problem for me when I'm dealing with, you know, other characters, because their long range weapons aren't as good as Red Hood's, just because of the whole assault rifle thing. And honestly, if I was to run with Red Hood, I definitely have an advantage on the opponent, simply because I have the pistols in my hand, and I think that's one of his positives. But other than that, I don't like his fighting system. I don't like how slow he is, and honestly, I don't think he has anything too special that really makes me go like, wow, Red Hood is so worthy of my playtime. But I think eventually I'll probably, you know, just play with him a little bit more so I can have a better understanding of his system. But you know, from what I've played, I'm iffy about Red Hood, but it is what it is. But there's a noticeable problem with Red Hood that I want to address, is the fact that he just has one of the worst locking on issues that I've ever seen with any of the other characters. Like, you know, there are occasional times where you will miss your opponent, but my gosh, you miss your opponent a lot when you fight with Red Hood. He's just so slow, and he just doesn't lock on like I feel like he should. And that's I think a problem that might be mechanical. It might be the game's fault, but honestly, it's more noticeable with Red Hood than with anybody else, and that's what I really don't like about Red Hood. Now moving on to Robin, I've been for maybe a few minutes, and then I got off just to give some type of opinion about him. Of course, Robin is obviously my favorite character in Batman altogether, and I wanted to save him for my second playthrough once I felt like I've gotten through the game a little bit more, because I do want to play through each character over again, just go through each character each time I go through the game, and just stick with that one character all the way through. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Robin's system. I think Robin honestly is a mixture between Batgirl and then of course Nightwing's system, because I feel like he has that long range, and then he also has that close range quickness that Nightwing has, and agility that he has as well. But the thing that really gets me about Robin is that he has that teleportation move that's really nice, and it really helps distract the enemy from actually hitting you using a decoy. And that's awesome, because that also helps with dealing with multiple enemies, and it can throw them off and give you some time to figure out your next move. But like I said before with Robin, I think that I'll be able to talk more about him when I actually play with him later on, and then I'll be able to come back and talk a little bit more about his system, because I feel like there's more that I haven't seen, and honestly I don't want to spoil any of it, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that be that. And last but certainly not least, we definitely got to talk about the Batgirl. Now, taking into account the fact that this is a superhero game, there are currently no female leads in terms of superhero video games, like single player superhero video games. So I definitely took this as an opportunity to go ahead and play as her first, because I wanted to go ahead and play as a female first. And I'm absolutely loving her, like really loving her. No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? Yeah, I love joking around with you guys, but not for real. I really enjoy playing with Batgirl because there's a few things that she has that is really effective that I really think helps me to get used to the combat system. I honestly think that she's the foundation of the combat system, and honestly, if you don't play with her first, I think you'll have a hard time understanding the others. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that that's the absolute, Bible gospel truth, but if you really want to get used to the combat system, I recommend playing with Batgirl first, because she's a lot easier to understand before you try to play anybody else. Now, I definitely would say that she is more focused. I personally think that her primary focus should be stealth more than anything else, because I feel like she definitely do a better job with stealth rather than the others. Now, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the gear system, because that was one thing I was concerned about when playing this. I was a little bit concerned about whether or not I could actually look the way I wanted to look, or did I have to be forced to play with a certain type of gear that I didn't think looked as cool, but you just had to use it because you had to have the best gear. You do have to have the best gear in order to be most successful in these type of games, considering that this is a game that's trying to act like an RPG, where you have to level up and get new gear and find new areas and things like that. That's what they're going for with the battle system. So I really think it's important that you do have the best gear possible, so that you don't be at a disadvantage when facing harder enemies later on in the story. And what I've come to find when playing the game is that you have this like certain games where you're forced to kind of have better gear and things like that. They allow you to have the gear, but then if you want to put like what they call a transmog over that gear, you can have like an outfit over top of that gear. That way you can look the way you want to look and still have that gear that looks nice, and you have what you want to have, so that you don't sacrifice style for just better gear. And before you ask, yes, they do have a gliding system. So when you first start up the game, you don't have access to your cape so that you can glide to different areas, but they do end up allowing you to do so later on in the story. Now, I have not completed the game completely, and I'm not sure how long I do have till the end of the game, but I think this is more like the beginning stages where they give you the glider so that you can actually glide around the city and things like that. Now, of course, it's not as dynamic as it was in the Arkham series with Batman, but it is something that helps you get around the city a lot easier than just grapple hooking all the time, because that can get annoying. They also have the motorcycle that you can spawn in any area in the game. I will say that the steering in this game is not the best, so I do find myself struggling to keep my motorcycle from hitting other cars and things like that. And lastly, I want to discuss the differences between the Gotham Knights combat system and then the Arkham combat system, because if you guys know that this game was expected to be somewhat similar to the Arkham combat system, but it ended up being something entirely different. But with the combat system on Arkham, you had I think it was the free flow system. You had to build up your hit count so that you could get more lethal critical hits on your enemies. and also so you could use special combos, special takedown combos, so that you could, you know, take them down immediately and, you know, get through them a lot faster, because those free flow combos were only strong enough to knock them back for a little while, and then they'll get back up and you have to knock them back down again, and then they'll get up and you have to knock them back down again. You know, it's just, it was dumb. And I honestly thought that you ended up fighting, you ended up hitting the same person several times before they actually went down, and that's why I thought it was a little annoying. And that's not the case here in Gotham Knights. With Gotham Knights, you can sit there and you can focus on one person, or you can focus on the other person. There's no flying between, you know, one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. It's none of that, you know, in Gotham Knights, and it's not something that you will find tedious. So that's pretty much all I have to say about Gotham Knights. If you guys like the video, make sure you like the video up so that my video can get recommended to the algorithm. That'll definitely help me out. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and like the video. Also check down in the description for my Teespring account. I have the link down there in the cash area where you can put your donations down there if you would like. And if this video gets 10 likes, I will go ahead and upload another video for Gotham Knights, just to kind of give you guys an update on where I'm at in the story, and just talk more about it just in general. But thank you guys for watching this video, and make sure you stay unashamed in this dark and wicked world. God bless.